Dari, hello. It is May 2022 and this is a strongly positive review of the 3 4G Plus hub. Now, as I'm about to explain, this is a blindingly fast LTE, that means 4G, category 18 router, and it quite simply has given me the fastest ever download speeds in my rural location here in England, UK. So let's rewind a little. In the UK we have pretty appalling internet speeds. And what do I mean by that? Well, the national network is fibre based, but the last bit of your network is copper based. So they have lots of green cabinets around in the UK, and to get to those cabinets it's all fibre based. So, you know, gigabit plus speeds. But from that cabinet to your house they use a copper wire. And depending on how far you are away from that cabinet, you can get speeds as little as 2 megabits per second. So there's a roaring trade in an alternative, and the alternative for many, especially in rural areas where we have no hope of getting fibre to the home, is to use a 4G router connection. And this is 3's latest and greatest, and it is pretty fantastic. 4G LTE router. Now don't forget, if you're using 5G routers you need to be within about 500 meters of a 5G router. So in the countryside that's a total impossibility, and even in a built-up area you'd be extremely lucky to get a decent signal from a 5G router. There are exceptions, of course. I'm sure if you're a telecoms person you might be smugly sitting there saying, oh, I get 500 megabits per second from my 5G connection. But for 99.9, a lot of nines recurring percentage of the UK population, that isn't the case. So this router has given me in its testing phase the fastest ever LTE speeds. And what do I mean by that? Well, it's a category 18 router, and that means to say that it's capable of carrier aggregation. So in the UK and worldwide spectrum there are a number of bands, and when your router powers on, depending on your carrier, so for example 3 or Vodafone or O2, it will use one of those bands. But in order to gain speed you can use something called carrier aggregation, and the fancier routers like this one support carrier aggregation. So this router is, technically speaking, an LTE 18 category router, which is phenomenal. I have a much more professional router than this, but that's only LTE 12 and can't manage more than about 60 megabits per second. Still good for 4G LTE, but this little baby has easily managed over 100 megabits per second, and our 3 coverage is very weak where I live. So just to get that straight, this is a category 18 router. It's locked to the 3 and Smarty networks, so no other SIMs are going to work. The SIM goes in here. It's not a micro SIM, it's the one slightly larger than that. And I've had absolutely stunning speeds. Now it does come with these 2 aerials, which can attach in. Okay, very good. But they don't really seem to improve the speed at all. So they screw in here. You take these rubber caps off, you screw these in. Now I have seen some discussion on the interweb that because this is a 4x4 MIMO connection, meaning it can parallel 4 streams and aggregate those speeds together. This is quite separate from carrier aggregation, by the way. It's got 4x4 MIMO. You'd effectively need 4 different aerials, not 2. And indeed there is a sort of a cottage industry of opening up this and other routers where you pay someone quite a bit of money so they open up this router, and instead of, they actually make another 2 sockets on the back. That said, that would only be an advantage if 4x4 MIMO is operating from the transmitter that you are using. Again, these are not guaranteed. So what have we got? We've got an LTE category 18 router. I've been able to get easily over 100 megabits per second download speed, and upload speed varies from about 4 to about 20 megabits per second. During a heavily utilised day, that speed will drop, let's say, to about 50 megabits per second, but that's still really good. And Smartian 3 have an eat as much as you like unlimited subscription for less than £20 per month. So, but for the cost of this router, which I'm just sold, you can have a plan, and you can have an unlimited internet plan for £20 a month. So it's absolutely staggering. This router is technically available only on contract, I think, from 3. So I've managed to get my hands on one independently. But if you do manage to find them on eBay, I've just sold this for about £75. So that's the typical price you'd expect to pay. So yes, I thoroughly recommend it. It's an absolutely blindingly fast router. Combined with a 3 or Smarty SIM, you are getting an exceptionally good internet connection in fuddy-duddy old England. Thanks for watching, Diary.